Hello everyone, welcome back to PharmCon tutorial. In today's lecture, we will discuss about anticoagulants. So let's get started. Anticoagulants are the agents that prevent or reduce the coagulability of blood, but they cannot break the clot once it's formed. So it can be only used as preventive measures. The main use of these anticoagulants are in deep vein thrombosis or pulmonary embolism, myocardial infarction to prevent recurrent attack of MI and stroke, in unstable angina to reduce MI occurrence, in dialysis, cardiac bypass surgery, disseminated intravascular coagulation, and in prosthetic heart valve to decrease thromboembolism. So before we see the drugs, let's have a look at the coagulation cascade. So we have intrinsic pathway and extrinsic pathway. The intrinsic pathway is activated by any negatively charged surface, and it basically acts on the factor 12 and converts it into 12A, which in turn converts 11 to 11A and which will convert 9 to 9A. Now this factor 9A along with 8A will act on the factor 10 to convert it into 10A. Another way to convert factor 10 to 10A is the activation of extrinsic pathway. During any injury of the endothelium, the tissue factor gets exposed, so which converts the 7 to 7A. Both the 7A and the tissue factor can act on 10 to convert it into factor 10A. This factor 10A in association with factor 5A converts prothrombin to thrombin, which is a factor 2A, and this thrombin will then act on the fibrinogen to convert it into insoluble fibrin, and thus the clot formation is started. Moving on to the classification of anticoagulants, they can be used in vitro in lab and in vivo inside the body. The in vitro agents include heparin, sodium citrate, sodium oxalate, and sodium editate. This sodium citrate is mainly used in blood banks to store blood. Sodium oxalate and sodium editate are used in laboratories. Here we will be discussing in detail about the in vivo drugs. These in vivo drugs are further subdivided into heparin and related products, direct thrombin inhibitors, direct factor 10 inhibitors, and finally warfarin and coumarin derivatives. So first let us see about the heparin and related products. These heparin and related products are also called as indirect thrombin inhibitors. Here we have heparin, that is unfractionated heparin, then a low molecular weight heparin, which include enoxaparin, dalteparin, tenzaparin, etc. So these are isolated from the standard heparin by the gel filtration chromatography, and there are also synthetic heparin, that is fondaparinX. Heparin is a sulfated mucopolysaccharide and is the strongest organic acid. It can be neutralized by the protamine sulfate in case of toxicity. Since this protamine sulfate is a strong base, we can use it in the toxicity of heparin. And this protamine sulfate is administered as IV infusion to antagonize the effect of heparin. Now about the mechanism of action of heparin. This heparin, it binds with the endogenous antithrombin 3 and inhibit the activation of the clotting factors 10A, 2A, 9A, 11A, 12A by forming stable complex with them. Heparin shows a dose dependent action, that is at a low concentration this heparin selectively inhibit the conversion of prothrombin to thrombin and prevent the further thrombus formation, and at high doses it has antiplatelet action. And again this heparin reduces the blood lipid level by releasing the lipoprotein lipase from the vessel walls and tissues. This heparin is mainly given by parenteral route, that is because this heparin is not absorbed after oral administration because of its high negative charge. Since it does not cross the placental barrier, it is safe during pregnancy. And again the side effects of heparin includes bleeding, heparin induced thrombocytopenia, hypersensitivity reaction, osteoporosis, which is dose dependent, and a reversible alopecia. Now talking about the low molecular weight heparins, these low molecular weight heparins are formed by the fractionation of the standard heparin, and the mechanism of action is the inhibition of factor Xa through antithrombin, but they do not have any effect on thrombin inhibition. They have a less risk of heparin-induced thrombocytopenia as well as osteoporosis. And these drugs have long half-life. The last one is the synthetic form of heparin, that is the fondaparinux. This drug also binds to the antithrombin and selectively inhibits the factor Xa with no effect on the thrombin. And it is also having long half-life as well as low risk of HIT and osteoporosis. Its action cannot be reversed by the protamine sulfate. Coming to the direct thrombin inhibitors, as from their name, they directly bind to the thrombin and inhibit it. The drugs are leperidine, bivalirudin, and argatroban. These drugs are given as both parenteral and oral route. Now coming to direct factor 10 inhibitors. So these drugs are rivaroxaban and apixaban. These drugs are as efficacious as this low molecular weight heparins, and the side effects include bleeding, tachycardia, and a decrease in blood pressure. And finally we have warfarin. Now let us see the mechanism of action of warfarin. This warfarin is a vitamin K antagonist. So how it attains these antagonism is that for the activation of vitamin K, it requires an enzyme called the epoxide reductase. So warfarin competitively inhibits this enzyme, and vitamin K will be stuck as in its inactive form. So there will be no activation of vitamin K dependent clotting factors, that is the clotting factor 2, 7, 9 and 10, and thus produces anticoagulant effect. Now there is always a delay in the onset of action of warfarin. This is made clear by knowing the half-life of the clotting factors. This clotting factors 2 has a half-life of 80 hours, and that of clotting factor 7 the half-life is 6 hours, that of 9 is 24 hours, and that of 10 is 36 hours. So before these preformed clotting factors are not used up, this warfarin action, which is acting at the synthesis level, will not be shown. And so they will have a delayed onset of action but has a prolonged duration of action. Another point associated with this warfarin is, in case of warfarin, we should monitor INR, that is the International Normalized Ratio. So this is the ratio between the prothrombin time of the patient and that of the reference. And again, this warfarin has the teratogenic effect, and hence they are contraindicated in pregnancy, and it also causes skin necrosis. Before winding up, let me correct a mistake which I have mentioned previously, that is the half-life of factor 2 is 50 hours and not 80 hours.